Ron was a maybe on Zoom, but I don't think he's planning on attending. So I told him just to enjoy his family reunion.
Oh,
So we sent him the packet in advance, and I'm happy to answer any other questions for him. But and then we're recording it or live streaming it through YouTube. So because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are looking at it on YouTube.
well, sign that.
We do that at most meetings. Everything gets recorded and posted on the website. So, and then that's part of the reason why we switched to action minutes. So that way we don't have to record down everything because you can just go back and look at the meeting if you really want to hear the discussion.
Ready to record?
I don't know, how are we ready to?
I think we are.
Okay.
So if I may, I will call the meeting to order. We have a provision for public comment. If any member of the public is present who wishes to speak to a matter not on the agenda, we can do that at this time. Is there anyone? And is there anyone on Zoom? If not, then the next question is whether there are any additions or deletions to the minutes. The agenda is simply the approval of the minutes, old business items, 3 new business items, reviewing the proposed budget for fiscal year 25, a memorandum for the fiscal year 25 proposed budget, and the trash control initiative. Are there any additions or changes to those agenda items?
Only thing I wanted to do is if you allow, introduce some new staff.
Okay, that would be great. That could be part of the staff report, I always say. Subject to that, if I hear no objections, the agenda is approved. So, all right, we can begin with that, right?
Sure. So I just wanted to introduce.
So we have to have the approval. I'm sorry, we have to have the approval. I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah.
We have to have the approval of minutes first.
I would move approval.
Second. And you've been looking at it. So Dina moves approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion and corrections needed? Without objection, the minutes are approved. All right, over to you.
Sure. So I just wanted to introduce staff. So you know Michelle Nelson. She'll be talking about our budget. She's our senior management analyst. And then we have Kyle Anderson. He's our brand new day 5 management analyst. So he will be helping us with stormwater budget in the future.
Welcome.
Brad Hunt will be giving a presentation on trash control. He's in our stormwater compliance team. He's under Pam. Julie Weiss is our watershed protection team. So Brad's under her team. And Anna Freitas is, she's our program assistant. So she's going to be continuing to help with the meetings and keeping me on track. So thankfully I have Anna. And now Kyle and Michelle, but it takes a village to get all this done. So anyway, that's the introduction to staff. So for next. Item, how you wanna.
Okay, the first new business item is review of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 and capital improvement 5-year plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2029. And we will call on the staff to talk about it.
Probably you're seeing it.
Lauren, are you sharing? I don't know that you're sharing the correct document.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not actually.
No, you're not.
I'm not?
That's
Oh, no.
No,
That's okay, that's easy.
314.
Okay, that's easy to change, not a big deal. I just pulled the wrong one from the wrong file. Okay. Thank you for catching that.
I didn't look like my spreadsheet, so I was like,
Let me get to where I need to be. Here, details. It's Friday, right?
yeah.
Wow, this is the one. Share screen. Is that the correct one?
There we go. Okay.
Yay, okay.
So let's jump into fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. Let me start with telling you where we're at in the budget development process and some key dates. So we are kind of running towards the finish line to get the proposed budget documents published and printed early next week. And then they'll be distributed to council, and the full council will have the study session and introduction to the 25 budget on Monday, May 6th, with the Finance Committee budget hearings starting on May 7th and May 8th. The Stormwater Management Fee Fund, both the operating and capital budget, will be on Wednesday, May 8th. So we are hoping today to garner your approval of that proposed budget that we are putting forward. So, as some of you may know, we proposed a 2.6% CPI increase for 2025. That's dictated by the ballot measure that we increased by the December CPI we use, which will result in an increase of $223,000 on our fee revenues. That fee increase went to the Finance Committee last Friday, right? Or not last Friday, last Tuesday, right, Karen?
Tuesday of this week.
And was approved.
Just Tuesday this week. Yeah.
Along with all of the other utility fee increases. For fiscal year 2025, and let me just say this first slide is just a super high level overview. Then we'll get into the details of the financial documents, review of capital, and you guys can ask any questions that you need for clarification. So for our operating expenses, we have no new increases or changes proposed to maintenance, GSI, or innovative projects. And for our base program component, there are just general increases, fee revenue alignment, things like union salary increases built into that base program. Where we do have some changes for fiscal year 2025 is to our capital expenses. The first bullet here is just sharing with you that we will be requesting to reappropriate some unused funds from fiscal year 2024 in the GSI capital project and the recurring ongoing storm drain rehab project into 2025. We have for the 5-year CIP 2025 to 2029 some proposed changes. Lewis Road, that project in the 2024 adopted budget, we originally had design in fiscal year 2025 with construction spread over fiscal year 27 and fiscal year 28. In this fiscal year 2025 proposed budget, we are pushing that project all the way out to the last year of the 5-year plan, fiscal year 2025, in the interest of bringing forward 2 new projects that were not already in that 5-year plan, Hamilton system upgrades and Center Drive upgrades. So those 2 projects, Hamilton and Center, were not already in the 5-year CIP. Michelle Jeremiah is on the call and can answer some questions and explain some more about that. But I think this committee is pretty familiar that given the storms, the major New Year storms two years ago, we reevaluated the sequencing of these projects, and Hamilton and Center are moving forward in priority to be completed and pushing Lewis Road out a bit down the road. This proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 will include Hamilton design in 2025 with construction in 2026, fiscal years, that is. And Center Drive design will be in fiscal year 2026 and construction in 2027. And I have a slide that kind of lays out that plan over the year so you can visualize that a little bit better. So that's the high level of what we've included in our proposed budget. Minimal changes in operating and some shifting and bringing of new projects and capital. So I've provided 2 different slides and spreadsheets on what the financials look like. They both have the same information and dollar amounts, just kind of presented in a different way. This first one shows the adopted budget to actuals for fiscal year 23 fiscal year 24, where we're at, where we're projecting, and then what it will look like for fiscal year 2025. We've used this format in the past, so hopefully it's not brand new to anybody. We break out the fee revenues. I like to show 23 since that's the last year that we have the full complete picture. 24, I ran these numbers, I believe this was last week, maybe on the 17th, and then projected out where that has us looking like for year end, and then proposed in the last yellow column there. This sheet differs a little bit from the next one that you'll see is I've broken out the base program a little bit more and consolidated a little bit more on the other one. Let me actually just go back. Oh, we can look at this one. This one's fine too. This one we have broken out the GSI and innovative project components a little bit more and kind of rolled up those base components. To remind the committee, the base components are those items that will continue without the fee. They're just kind of our ongoing maintenance of the storm drain system. And then the project and infrastructure component is all the stuff that was added with the Blue Ribbon Committee and the ballot measure, the projects, the 13 projects, the green stormwater infrastructure initiatives, and our innovative projects. I would like to highlight on here, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to dig into this. If you go back up to the top, to the previous slide, Karin. When you're looking at our revenues here in the projections, fiscal year 2024 adopted budget had 10,057,000 adopted in revenues. And if you look at our projections, it looks like we're coming in pretty low. I want to point out that that is to do, you'll see this other revenue line for 1.216 million. And that other revenue is our grant with the Environmental Protection Agency that we had the revenues shown coming in and adopted 24. We have to reappropriate those revenues to 2025. So you'll see that on the year 8-25 proposed. We haven't reimbursed and received those revenues yet. So that's why it'll look like our projections for revenues are low based on what was adopted. In fact, the fee revenue is looking like it's going to come in really close to what we had adopted. The variance is really just that grant reimbursement that we won't get till next year. So I did want to point that out. It's not a cause for alarm. Yeah, so we can do we want to pause here for questions, or do we want to take the next slide with capital proposals and then take questions, or both?
Your question? Go ahead.
Yeah, what happened to the interest expense for the money borrowed really prior to this?
The debt service?
Right.
Yeah.
Are we done? Are we done with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Debt
Good,
service ends in 2024.
You can see right here, David,
Wait, where-
there's nothing in the debt service for starting.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
proposed.
And that was built in to the original projections for this ballot measure that that would end starting in 25. And that's part of why we've had to really balance our planning for the capital projects towards these beginning years of the fund. Since we're paying that debt service, we haven't built up our reserves enough. So we'll hopefully be able to, without that debt service on the books, start really working towards the rest of the 13 projects.
Great. $1 million.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So you want to go to capital?
Yeah, and then we can always go back up there too if there are questions after we speak to capital. So here is kind of what I shared just a minute or two ago in a chart form, hopefully help you guys visualize what we're planning for the 5-year CIP for proposed 2025. As you can see, I've included the 2024 information on here, and the 2024 budget column is really depicting what we have spent to date in 2024, and then what we plan to spend the rest of the fiscal year, which basically means it includes reappropriations. So whereas the adopted budget showed the full budget that we allocated to those projects, this is showing what 24 is actually going to have and what we've moved into 25. Conversely, that 25 column is going to contain the reappropriations from previous year. So you can see that we are hoping to wrap up this year and next year several projects: Corporation Way, the 2 West Bay Shore pump station and trunk line. East Meadow is not shown on here just in the interest of space, but those projects will be wrapped up as well. And then you can kind of visualize here what I said, how we moved out Lewis Road to 2029, where previously we had Lewis starting in 25 with construction in 27, 28. It's now the full project of Lewis pushed out to 29. And we have brought in Hamilton and Center, those 2 CIP projects, into this 5-year plan where they were not planned in the 24 budget. So if you were to look at the 24 adopted budget, Hamilton and Center weren't planned for. We really listened to this committee and the community's needs for these projects to be moved forward, and aligned other projects to make sure we could get started on them. So Hamilton design will start in 25 with construction in 26. Center design will start in 26, fiscal year 26, with construction in 2027. This was the earliest Michelle and her team could feasibly fit these projects in. We just want to remind the committee that Michelle Jeremias and her team of 2 engineers are not only working on all of these 13 CIPs for the ballot measure, but there's several other projects her team works on, most notably the Newell Road Bridge project that takes a lot of their staff time right now, and we're hoping to wrap that one up in the next couple of years as well. So that is built into her staffing capacity when considering these projects.
Michelle's on the line if you guys have any
Mhm.
questions about the capital work.
I just wanted to say, maybe we've seen this format before, but this is great. This
Okay.
is so clear. Thank you.
Good. I was going to ask at the end if the format isn't working or there's any suggestions. I'm happy to hear so I can make these documents more user friendly for the committee.
Or what I can also do is send out, once the draft budget book is
Mhm.
live, I can send that to the committee, and then you can look. There's going to be a lot more detail in the budget book for the stormwater the stormwater one. So I can highlight which pages are ones that you guys can look at in the future too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Yes, Michelle, you're off the hook. Anyone have questions for Michelle?
Quick, hang on.
I'll be here. I'll be sitting on for the duration of the meeting, as I'm sure Michelle Jeremiah will be, in case you guys anything comes to mind as you're digesting all the information you've been given.
So the next is this memo. Do you remember
And
Famous memo.
the famous
the
memo?
famous memo, and it should include the famous line about the information we rely on.
So it should be that last.
That's the test to make sure that we read it.
Yes.
Well, it says staff
This is it.
presented information. Isn't that the critical part? Huh?
No, actually, we inserted a sentence in past years
Oh,
that
Yeah.
I'm not
is a
that
little
busy.
bit more specific.
No.
It's in last week's,
It's in
last meeting's
Last
minutes.
meeting's one.
Prior to the meeting, Public Works staff all provided informational materials about the proposed budget, but it doesn't say based on that information, we approve it. That's what's missing, right?
Second paragraph.
Yeah, the idea, we're supposed to be saying that the money is being spent on nothing except the budget. And saying that the budget has been presented, saying that the budget has been presented isn't the same as saying, we know, because we've looked into it, that the money is being spent on nothing else.
So that was in last meeting's memo, where you guys have reviewed the actuals.
Okay,
And confirmed that we are only spending it as the ballot initiative. So that one was looking at actual, this is looking at proposed.
okay,
So we.
that makes sense.
So we included that sentence in the memo from last meeting, because that talks about the actual,
Got
that
it.
you guys double check.
So because this is for proposed,
Proposed
you don't
future.
have the same concern. Thank you.
Right, yeah,
I appreciate
but no,
that.
you're very, we did add that sentence the last meeting, the previous memo.
So that goes to the retrospective looking back. report.
Right, that you guys, that you, and I think you added something about it's audited within the city's, our own city audits the program as well, and that we presented the actuals to you,
Yes,
so,
good, thank you, I appreciate that clarification.
yes.
I would suggest we all take 30 seconds more, because I need it, to look at the memorandum that we're going to vote on. Karen, the one on the left is a red line that shows where the differences are from what we voted on before, and the one on the right is what we're voting on.
Correct, and there's one clarification, the subject line for it should be fiscal year 2025, we just missed 1.5, so. In the red line version.
Right, so the subject is going to be review of the proposed fiscal year 2025
And,
stormwater.
but that's not corrected on the,
Correct, you're right, I
Okay.
caught that yesterday before the
Okay.
packet went out.
not a problem. I just want to be sure that you
Yeah.
guys had been corrected, that's all.
We will correct it.
It's lovely though.
We reviewed, compared it with provisions of the fee. We find that the spreadsheet fairly describes the relationship between the budget and the ballot session. And
So, Karen, are we approving the one that's not redlined? It follows the red line version. It's April 26th. It has no red lines on it right after. That's the one we're approving.
Yes, and that's the one where we're gonna need
we're
to
approving
take
the
that one
clean
subject.
one, subject to the one character correction that it will say fiscal year 2025.
From the subject line.
Yes,
Is there a motion that we approve the memorandum that we have in front of us?
I was so moved.
Dina so moves. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So on a voice vote, this is approved.
thank you, and just for Michelle alluded to it, but this is critical for us for making sure our committee has reviewed the proposed budget. Will be taken to, and then we'll share this with our team, and then it will be in the packet for when council approves the budget on June 17th. This memo will go into that packet. But that's why we really appreciate you guys meeting before the early May when we're meeting with all the finance committee members. So this is critical for us.
If you ever need to have somebody from this committee show up on the date that the council looks at everything, I can try to.
Thank you, Hal. You've done a fantastic job previous years, so I'll reach out to you. So thank you. Okay, now,
So this brings us to the new program. So let's,
hold on.
We're gonna get that for the different. Okay, second.
I'm getting the correct one. You know, this is the joy. Here's get the right presentation up.
So impressive how many people want to listen to this.
Well, I don't know if you,
I don't know.
advertise you're going to talk to Ash or something.
the trash.
It's all about how you market it.
Listen, I sat through many HRB meetings where there was nobody there but staff.
Yeah, yeah,
In the council chambers, no
yeah,
less.
yeah. I can't say.
Are you ready to finish it? Do you want to introduce yourself again for those that
So,
might?
Brad. Brad Hunt, Associate Engineer in the Stormwater Group, working their PM, so I'm sitting in for her today. So good morning, everyone.
No,
So you may have heard about trash load reduction for many years now, and it's because it's been in the permit for all 3 iterations of the permit. We've been working on that, reducing the trash load in the city, and they're trying to meet our requirements of the municipal regional permit. And so today we're going to update you on the program, and the next steps that we're going to take to meet those requirements in the latest version of that, which we lovingly call MRP 3.0. So in 2014, the Regional Water Board required the city to develop a plan for us to address our trash uses in the city and keep trash from entering the storm drain, the creeks, and eventually flowing into the bay. So the plan described the control actions and programs we already had in place actually in Palo Alto, and we were required to include the maps that designated trash management areas that were identified to have or generate trash throughout the city. So as you can see on the map up there, we have different colors. The green on the map, which we have overwhelmingly in the city, means we have low trash generation, and that's less than 5 gallons per acre per year. There's yellow and then red, and we have very little purple on there. Yellow is moderate. The red is considered high trash generation. So it's mostly in some commercial areas and some downtown areas. And then we have purple, which is, as you can see, 101, which is Caltrans is where that trash load is being generated. In there.
what else?
So
It's not us.
people driving by. So the city's been a leader, in litter control. We've been focusing on our trash reduction efforts outlined in the plan in these areas by programs, like I said, we already had in place. So street sweeping, on-land cleanups. We've been doing outreach and education. We're revitalizing that school program soon to get that out to high schoolers and other schools. And we have the downtown streets team cleanups and implementing product bans and installing full trash capture devices throughout the city, which we're going to show later in the presentation. And so through these actions, we've been able to meet our permit requirements up to date. So next slide, please. So in May of 2022, we got the new version of the permit. The stormwater permit was adopted by the Regional Water Board, and it updated our trash reduction requirements. So these requirements are a continuation of the trash load benchmarks that we've had, previously in the city. As you can see, we were required to achieve 90% reduction by June 30th of 2023. Unfortunately, the city was unable to meet that requirement. We were only at 75%. So the Water Board asked us to submit updated plans, an updated plan to talk about how we were going to come to meeting that requirement. So we did that. And then we recently looked at our trash. We have a trash load reduction dashboard that our consultant has put up for us, which shows all the actions that we take, everything we've done. And as of March 2024, we're at 87%. So we have different things we're going to talk about later that describe what we actually do to get there. And so we have to achieve 100% reduction by 2025, June 30th. What that means is based on a baseline assessment we did back in 2014, we have to reduce our trash to that low level. So there's not going to be zero trash. It'll just have to be less than that 5 gallons per acre per year throughout the city. So next slide. So as mentioned before, these are the trash control measures that we've taken throughout the city. In previous permits, we continue to do this as well. These programs are listed here. So street sweeping, I mentioned, trash container bin management's another one, ongoing storm drain in and cleaning every year. We have the anti-littering and illegal dumping response. We have public outreach and education, covered loads, and then the ordinances. And unfortunately, in this permit, what they did with the ordinance was they said, these are already effective. You don't get credit for those any longer. So we lost a little bit of credit for that. And we're having to make up for that with these other actions that we're going to talk about here.
Can I ask a question then?
Yes.
Recently, if I remember, street sweeping has been reduced from weekly to every other week. Has that affected you?
I don't think so. I mean, we haven't gotten the data this year. We usually get that
Okay.
reported out in the annual report.
That just happened, and they really are not sweeping the streets every week.
I believe it's seasonal now.
It is.
They sweep every week in the fall and early winter to account for all the leaves.
All the leaves.
And associated trash that collects in the leaves, because that happens. And then once spring has arrived, then they go to every other week.
Okay.
That's my impression.
And I think that's in all residential areas. We can come back with the
I just
information,
was
but I,
curious because
Yeah.
it seems sort of counterintuitive, but, and if you live downtown, it doesn't matter anyway, because it's always parked, so the street sweeping is.
I know.
is
That's right,
so
yeah.
hard, But whatever, I just was curious, thank you.
they do have a blower though that goes out at times to blow and then pick up.
No,
Not
never,
anymore.
oh, never, we never did.
Oh, okay, I'll have to check in because our zero waste team helps manage that contract, so that's under me as well. I
No,
will double check.
he just drives down the middle of the street,
Making noise.
making a lot of noise.
Oh, because there's too many cars they can't get to.
Yeah, we don't have the no parking on street sweeping like
But
other
it's
cities
posted
do.
certain days of the week, right?
Some places,
Some places
Doesn't
do, but
matter.
not
People get
everywhere.
it eaten, how often.
Good to know.
this, the neighborhood south, which is where I live,
Oh, okay.
there's no street sweeping days on it.
What's that?
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, why don't we have no parking on street sweeping days?
Probably just a logistical nightmare, but good to
It's a
know.
moneymaker.
It's not their problem, I know you're not in charge of street sweeping.
Yeah,
Curious.
So the way we determine if these trash control measures are effective is that, and get our trash reduction credit that we're required to, is that we have what are called trash assessments. So these are visual assessments throughout the city that are in certain areas that are randomly chosen every year, and they're point in time assessments. So based on when they go out, there could be one day we're getting a grade of an A, one day we're getting a grade of a B, and those are done multiple times throughout the year, so we get an average. And so far, what we're seeing is that the percentage that we're getting from that is very consistent, and actually some areas have been getting lower trash seen in those, so our percentage of reduction is going up. So we're getting better results from that every year that we're doing this. So as you saw on the previous slide, oh, next slide, sorry, I didn't.
Okay,
I'm
I
jumping
know.
ahead.
Well, you can see your
I know,
slides.
I keep forgetting I'm not clicking and
I
changing.
know.
So as you saw on the previous slide, we have implemented a number of those trash control programs throughout the city. And another way that we get trash credit is that we construct and maintain trash control, large full trash capture devices. You can click through car and just get through all of them, yeah. So these are the three types of devices that we have in the city. The two on the left are called large high flow capacity systems. And they are the two largest circles on the city. We have two in the bottom right circle, and then we have one large one that was just installed this past year in the upper large circle, and that's out by the golf course over there. That's the two on the bottom right are the one that's on the far left, which is that circular one, and water flows into that, goes in a circle. It's kind of self-cleaning. The trash gets captured in there, and then it flows out the other side. The one in the middle is a straight through type device. It's called a debris separating baffle box. And what that is water comes straight in, it gets diverted into two cages, the trash and the debris gets captured in there, and clean water flows through on the outside. And it also has a hydrocarbon boom on the end, so any oils or anything that's in the system will also be captured on that. And those are replaceable once they get too much oil in them, so we can continue keeping those pollutants out of the bay as well. And so from the blue lined areas, in those circles are the actual size of the treatment areas that those devices are capturing. So the one up by the golf course is over 200 acres that it's treating. And I'm not sure about the other ones, but they're lower, probably under the 100-acre range of what they're capturing there. The tiny circle on the kind of in the very middle of the map, that's what's a catch basin type device. We have one of those in the city, and that captures about 5 acres. It's that smaller device on the bottom right. And so basically that captures any trash that's flowing off the street directly into the catch basin. So any leaves and debris get captured by that. Has an overflow if there's a lot of flow in the area during a high rain, and it can bypass, and then that's cleaned out by the maintenance crew. So all these are serviced by the city storm ops team right now. And I was just actually out there talking to them about the new device. So it's pretty interesting that it's working right now, which is good. So next slide, please. So after submitting our updated trash plan to the water board last year, we received a letter from them. They wanted a little bit more detail about how we're going to get to the 100%, the 90% and the 100%. And so our next step for that was to dig into the details of how we're going to get that 100% trash load reduction. And so this slide outlines the process of how we're going to do that, how we did that. We investigated city areas throughout the city for trash capture device installation. So that's that large one to see if we could put one in, and a lot of small ones. We identified newer enhanced control measure scenarios. So those ones that we currently have going on, what do we need to do to those, in those areas where we have moderate trash, to reduce trash even further. So do we need to increase maybe street sweeping in those areas or something else in those areas to reduce that trash? We also did some estimated planning level costs to kind of see which scenario would be the best one, based on cost and actions that we need to take. And so we have 4 proposed control measures, which are in the next slide. So these are the 4 that we have proposed, A, B, C, and D. You can click the next one, Brian. So as you can see, all of the 4 scenarios rely on small trash capture devices being installed, and they rely on what's called a private property inspection program. Go ahead and click on the next one. So A and B scenarios, which were proposed, have a large trash capture device. They're both the same area where they would be installed, which is over at Palo Alto Avenue and Glenda Street. And then B relies on trash assessments as well. And then it reduces the number of the small devices we have to install. And so you see there's 254 in A, and then we're down to 49 if we do trash assessments in B. So as you can also see, those costs are on the higher end of the 4 proposals. Click on the next one. So C and D, these 2 rely heavily on the catch basin type inserts, and they rely on the private property inspections. And so the private property inspections, what those are is that we're going to go out to private properties. There's 61 of those in these scenarios that we have to talk to the property owner, do an assessment with them, determine if they are doing the right best management practices to keep their trash at a low trash generation. If not, then we'll have to work with them to get it to an A. So depending on the, maybe their trash enclosure is dirty. We need to say, hey, just make sure you're keeping that clean. Every time, they're coming out to do trash, clean it up after. And that'll be good. We can come out and inspect, and you can be hopefully moved into the A category. So we're going to work with them on that to get them down to A. If they're really bad areas, then unfortunately we may have to escalate enforcement to, remind them in a way, a nudge way, to get it down to the A category.
So is this like in the middle of a private parking lot?
It could be a parking lot. It could be any
connects
business
directly to the sewer.
Yeah, it's a certain size businesses. They're over 10,000 square feet. So based on that, if they have a storm drain connected directly to the storm system,
Right.
then that's why we have to get them to manage that trash, because that's going directly into our system, and that's the kind of trash we have to manage. If it flows into the street, that doesn't technically count because they don't have a system connected directly to it. So we'll be looking at those. So scenario D, as you can see, we're putting trash assessments back in there as something we want to do because we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, to be honest. Those assessments are saying that Palo Alto is quite clean. We have very few areas we have to worry about when it comes to either installing devices or doing other inspection actions. And it also reduces the number of full trash capture devices down to 49 for us, so it lowers our costs. And so this is the scenario we have chosen to go with, because not only are we able to probably wrap some of those private property inspections into our current inspection programs, we're also able to install a smaller number of devices, so it's less work for our maintenance crew to maintain those, and those online visual trash assessments. We're seeing that, like I said, the trend earlier is going in the right direction. So even though it may vary from year to year, it's going to keep us in the right ballpark of maintaining trash in those areas and giving us the credit we need through that assessments.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So, the relative costs for the, full trash capture devices, is that for installation, or is it installation and projected maintenance?
Installation and projected.
Thank you.
And next slide, I think that's it, actually. Yeah, we'll go on with scenario D.
I have a question. Is there a hotline, a number someone can call if, town and country suddenly it's just a mess someplace?
What's our number? 2122?
Well, we do have a number, and there's also 311. Are
Oh, yeah.
you familiar with 311?
I am familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, it needs a little work.
It does.
It does.
So if I went to I can do it right now, but I went to 311, I could find how I would report a trash problem. That's what you're saying?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. I'll do it right now and then I'll go, hey, you're right. That's all I wanted
And
to know.
just, we have acknowledged for a while, most people have the 311. It's a tool, and like many tools, it's imperfect. It needs a little bit of sharpening,
It's
but
okay.
it's something.
It's better than nothing.
Is that the
use it
website
a
where you
lot.
fill out a form online and you report a
for
problem
your
within a certain number of
Yeah.
categories?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it goes directly to the responsible.
I've actually used it successfully more than once, so that's cool.
So there's debris in parking garages and debris in roadway. Is that what I would choose?
And try the roadways, and even if you can't find the perfect category, don't sweat about that too much, because when it goes to a real person, they'll say, no, that's not us, that's them, and they'll direct it.
They will.
They'll
Yeah.
direct it to us.
Okay.
There's so many different responsible, people responsible for different nuanced things, and we'll communicate.
Okay, that's fine. Now I see it. I just never reported it.
So we have a little video here to show you the large device that I was talking about that's out by the golf course, the actual installation. And there's also within the video, it shows you how it works.
Say a little bit about how this got funded.
Oh, so this device was actually funded through a Caltrans cooperative implementation agreement. And so Caltrans needs to treat their right of way. And so what they're doing is finding drainages that are connected to city drainages, and then they pay the whole project. So they funded the entire project and paid for it, and we got it
How much
installed.
was that?
Yeah,
There you go.
Over 613,000, I think it was.
Yeah.
$600,000.
Yeah, we did a presentation on it here.
Yeah.
So here's the video of it being installed. We get 9% credit from that one device in the city.
Wow.
It's hard to love Caltrans, but that's wonderful.
Well, they're also under the gun to reduce trash
Yeah.
in their permit.
So if you can see, water flows into the storm drain, it goes through the device here. It has that splitter I talked about where it directs trash and debris to each of the cages where it gets captured in there. Water flows through the center and the cages, and it should show, yep, there it goes. And then here's the hydrocarbon boom I was talking about. So that floats as the water level rises, it floats up and captures, it kind of skims the top of the water, the oil and other flutes off of there. Sediment goes to the bottom, fills up. That's the manufacturer of the device. And here's some of the installation video we captured while we were out there.
So how do you clean it? Do you take a vacuum device?
The back truck goes out there. There's 3 hatches on top. Because this device has 3 chambers, it has 3 hatches that they open. And then you can put your back truck hose down in there and suck out on each side of the splitter, and then in between each of the chambers where the sediment collects, and you can open the top of the cages and then clean out the debris and trash. And they also have slide gates in these that come down. So because where this is located, if it didn't have these slide gates, there's always constant flow into the device, so they want to stop the water so they can clean out whatever's in there. We open them and then let the water flow through. So they have them both in. So if there's any backflow for any reason, they can completely isolate the device and clean it out.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna comment, with Caltrans questions. I was pleasantly surprised a few months ago when I saw a lot of trash accumulate at that, the Cloverleaf, the pull off onto Embarcadero. There was a ton of trash up there. And I got all riled up, and Brad helped me find the contact. And I called, we submitted a work request, and they got on it. They cleaned that thing within a couple of weeks, and they cleaned it pretty darn well. So they do seem to be a little bit more responsive than they were in the past, at least from the last time that I called. So if you see a Caltrans area that it does not looking too good, I would call them. They are also under the gun to comply with their own trash reduction requirements, and so they're trying to pay a little bit more attention.
We actually did get a request from a neighborhood that's borders East Palo Alto off of University Avenue. There was some graffiti.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of trash at that intersection. So we submitted the request on their behalf because they contacted us. And then I think Caltrans cleaned it up probably within the month of submitting that request.
The University Avenue overpass, just awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't figure out where all that garbage comes from. People just dumping it out the windows.
Oh, yeah.
It's the trucks that aren't covered. Even though they're supposed to by
I know.
state, they mandated to cover their load. That's going one.
People picnicking on the bridge.
Yeah, exactly, at the intersection.
Yeah, I have a question. So, actually drive by the golf course frequently just to go to the Baylands area. And I'm like, where is it? Because I don't see anything. I know that there was some work going on, but is it on
That's
the
right.
golf course side,
It
the
is on the
airport?
golf course side. So right, as you turn left at that driveway
Yeah.
into the golf course, it's just to your left, right by the edge of the parking lot. So if you come to the parking lot edge closest to Embarcadero, then you'll see 3 hatches. There used to be a tree there, but we had to take that out and replant another one somewhere else, but you can see.
So it's
3
closer to
hatches.
the airport parking lot?
Nope,
that-
the other
golf
the
course?
golf course side.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll take a look.
So if you're coming out, you'll see the hatches to the right.
Okay, thank you.
There's 3 of them there.
We like to do things well in Palo Alto, and you can rely on a wonderful staff to invest in well. One suspects that some other cities and districts don't have the resources to do it well. As you look across the Bay Area, are there any communities that are having a real challenge on this? I mean, I'm just interested as a citizen, if the water board is after us, is the water board sufficiently, getting after?
They're after everyone that's required to meet the conditions of the permit, the requirements of the permit. So everyone is struggling with funding, to some degree. Primarily, I would say it's gonna be on the green stormwater infrastructure side of things. These devices, I think San Jose now has over 30 devices that were installed. And they had, I think, 10 or 12 funded by Caltrans because they treated Caltrans right of way. So they've gotten some funding for that. That's actually helped their program install more. Other cities I'm not as familiar with, but I know everyone talks in our meetings about how some of these requirements are very onerous for us and, they don't have the staff or they don't have the funds to do all of it. And so back and forth negotiations by our program staff, Scavert, to help, mitigate some of this. And they're also doing a lot of this work for us to show that we're meeting the requirements. But green storm infrastructure, I think, is where everyone is really concerned about funding because that's an ongoing cost when it comes to especially your vegetated type of green stormwater infrastructure. So you have to maintain those every year, you have to replant plants, and at some point you're gonna have to rehabilitate that device. And so that's a big cost that I think we're trying to figure out how to deal with.
So we'll be returning most likely, our team is still obviously looking at the option D and then how we're gonna fund it all and how we're gonna get it installed. And we're not requesting new budget, but we're gonna try and utilize the existing budget that we have authorization for, and we're gonna come back to you to get the head nod approval that we're shifting some budget around. So that's the challenge that we had is when the Blue Ribbon Committee came in, we didn't have this new MRPs, and now we're trying to figure out how do we make sure we're in compliance with a base budget that's not growing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tricky for our staff. And so we're trying to navigate that.
Does anyone on our committee have anything else on this subject? Do you have any?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay,
Job well done.
thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time and we appreciate the success you're having. Of course. Thank you. This is an open spot on the agenda for anything we haven't covered so far.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
let's
That's
not
a
go there.
big topic.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Life, the universe, and everything.
Why are we?
I keep on reading that the earth and the sun will collide in all life.
That's right.
But I hadn't planned to get to that this week.
Not visual.
Okay.
Maybe you can put that on the agenda for next time.
All right.
Well, then I think we're prepared to adjourn.
I would move adjournment. Whatever
Without
says.
objection, we're adjourned with thanks to the staff.
We can all say.
Here we are.
And I'll look at, once we have the new appointees, how we'll probably meet with them, and then we'll determine the next meeting. It'll probably be, I'd say, September, October timeframe. Just to keep you apprised of what happened with the budget, where we're at. Did it get approved? Anticipate stormwater budget will get approved as proposed, but we'll see. You never know. And then we'll figure out the schedule for future meetings. But I wanted to thank David for his time on the committee.
Well,
Really
I'd love to come back, but won't be happening.
So I'm not sure if we'll see you again after.
Probably not.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
you'll see me around town, but
Yes.
not here.
You can come as a member of the time.
I could be the one, yeah. Either one.
Sending him to pocket.
Okay, I don't need to talk.
But thank you for your continued support
All right,
and
well, it certainly is more impressive today than it was 7, 8 years ago. I mean, this work was all being done. It's so much more complicated, as you've pointed out, and there's so many more requirements that are unfunded, and yet they're all being met. So hats off to staff for doing.
Well, we're trying to meet them.
Well,
We're not 100% there right now. So, I mean, we're trying. It's challenging though. Yeah. But as Hal alluded to, every city's going to this.
Right. And the Water Resources Board, my one experience with them is like dealing with a pit bull. They do not let go.
One thing this permit requires that it hasn't in the past is very detailed cost tracking for staff time. And holy cow, maybe we get to talk about that on day 5 later today. It is no joke, the level of detail they want to have to try to understand costs. We're not quite sure what they're going to be doing with that, since there's never any funding associated with these permit requirements. But just because that question's come up a couple of times, I just wanted to share that with you, that they are trying to figure out what all this means financially to cities.
Yeah, after they made the requirements. Oh, yeah.
So it's better that they're asking those questions than not. It's not good. It's a further burden for you, but it's important.
Well, I think it'll feed in information for the next permit because they're already starting to plan out their 5-year permit term. So then they're going to make the decision, and hopefully by, them tracking or seeing how many hours city staff are paying and the dollars amount, maybe it will slow down some of the other.
It's possible. I don't know. When I was on the Air District Board, we spent a lot of time worrying about cost per benefit, and the Water District or the Water Board hasn't really done that.
Correct.
So maybe they're being pushed in that direction. Because everybody's suffering, then there's a problem. Doesn't mean it's not, the goal is right. It just means that there's a problem in implementing it, and cost is part of that.
Well, that's just like what we're doing right now with this, different water, but different side of the house, the wastewater treatment, as if you probably have seen in the paper for nutrient reduction.
Right.
And that is projected to cost the Bay Area residents tons of money. San Mateo is already partway through. Palo Alto started our secondary treatment project to remove nutrients, but other facilities haven't started yet. And so the market, we're just going to struggle to get consultants on board and contractors to do all the work. So, if you're a contractor and work in wastewater in the future, it's going to be a good industry to go.
I'll get into that line of work.
If you want to shift into your line of work from walking the dog on a Friday to managing wastewater.
I'm working 7 days a week, 24 hours.
Why not? Well, we appreciate you. I think we're done. Those that are online, thank you, Michelle and Michelle.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
It's supposed to be sunny. Yay.